All right, so we're working on the midterm study guide for college algebra, and I'm working on number 14 right now. Number 14, you can read that and see that it is a volume question. We're talking about a box. It says the height of the box is 7 inches. The length is 3 inches more than the width. And then find the width if the volume is 126. So we've got a box, basically. You all worked a lot of problems with that piece of sheet metal that you made into a box. Well, this one, they've already made it into the box. You just got a box, and it's length times width times height. It's 3 dimensions multiply to equal the volume. That's the basic formula for volume of the box. Well, in our problem, it flat out tells you the height is 7. So you've got the height of 7. The length is 3 more than the width. So I would let the width be the unknown, X or W, and then the length is that, what did I say, plus 3 inches more. So the one you know the least about is the width, and if you think about it in your box, say you call this the width, I'm going to call it my unknown W. The height of the box is 7, and then the length of the box is W plus 3. So those are the 3 dimensions. And then it says it equals a volume of 126. So that's our equation, 126 equals, and this looks odd in this order. I'd probably rearrange it, put the 7W in front. We're kind of used to seeing the parenthesis in the back of the multiplications, although it doesn't have to be. Now if 7 goes into 126, I would go ahead and reduce it. We've done some problems where that kind of worked out and helped our equation be nicer. Oh, and it does, good. So 7 will divide into 126. And it is a multiplier, so we are free to reduce that a little bit by dividing out the 7s. And 7 into 126 goes 18 times. And then it just makes our problem a little easier on us. It is going to be a quadratic when I distribute. So we know we solve quadratics by setting them equal to 0. So this 18 needs to cross over. So we'll have W squared, 3W minus 18 equals 0. A quadratic in standard form. From there, some of you do the formula with A is 1, B is 3, C is negative 18. Or you can factor. This one is a WW since it has a coefficient of 1. That's the only way that can happen. It's going to be a positive 6 and a negative 3 to multiply to be negative 18 and give me the right middle number. Then we set each one of those parentheses equal to 0. When we solve, we get 2 solutions. You always look back at your problem, especially if it's a reading problem. You should always look back, really, with your answer and just make sure you've answered what was asked. And with reading problems, sometimes you can't use negative numbers. We cannot have a negative width of a box, of an object. So sometimes negative answers do get thrown out if it's a real life problem. So the width of this box we have now found is 3. Are we in inches, I think? Yeah, we're in inches. So the width is 3 inches. Now the question is find the width. Sometimes they'll throw you a curve and they'll say find the length, and you get in a hurry and just answer what you found. But this one, it actually does ask us to find the width is the question that's asked, so we are done. If it was asking about the length, we'd have to add 3 to it. Remember, the length's 3 more than the width. All right, but we are done. Width is 3 in number 14. Answer C. All right, moving on down, number 15, the next reading problem. It says we've got 2 cars that leave an intersection. One is heading due north, and the other one is heading due east. So it's making this right triangle situation, and that's how we're going to be able to solve it because it is a right triangle. We can use Pythagorean theorem. It says when the car traveling north has gone 12 miles, so that distance 12, the distance between the car here, the distance between them, the hypotenuse, is 4 more than the east. So we call east the unknown amount, and the distance between them, that plus 4. So that's our setup for our right triangle. We can pop that in the Pythagorean theorem. Side squared plus side squared equals hypotenuse squared. So 12 squared plus x squared equals hypotenuse squared. And we will then need to work this out. and consolidate it, get it in standard form. X plus 4 squared means x plus 4 times x plus 4. That can be FOILed to be x squared, 8x, and 16. So it looked like it was going to be a quadratic. I thought this one was going to be a quadratic, but I noticed I have an x squared on the left and an x squared on the right, so when I bring those over to the same side, they cancel each other out. So the x squared is gone. So it's actually going to be a linear equation. So I'm solving for x, take the 16 over, makes 8x equals 128. Divide both sides by 8, and x equals whatever 8 into 128 is. And let's just check that out. And I am getting a 16. So 16 is x. What does x represent? X was that east distance. Check your problem and see what they ask you. If they ask you for the distance between them, it's plus 4. But this one asks you for the east distance, which is actually what we got for x. So your final answer is 16, answer D on that one. All right, let's look at number 16. Number 16, a rock falls from a tower that is 208 feet high. As it is falling, its height is given by this formula. So the formula is given to you. We don't have to derive the equation. It's there. We just have to interpret it. It says, how many seconds into the nearest tenth will it take the rock to hit the ground? Now, anytime it says hit the ground and it puts a clue there that says that means h is 0. Put in h is 0 there. So, because h represents how high it is from the ground, if it's hitting the ground, it's 0 from the ground. So we've got a quadratic to solve. It is a special quadratic in that it doesn't have a middle term. So I could solve it by throwing the 208 across the line, having negative 208, dividing out the negative 16. Oh, here we go again. I need a calculator, don't I? It is 13. That's positive 13. So the negative 16 canceled into that. Then to solve, I square root both sides. Now, when we square root a square, it cancels that out, leaves t solved for it, but we do say plus and minus of the other side. So on your calculator, you'll take the square root of 13 and round to the nearest tenth. I'm going to say that is answer C, which is 3.6 to the nearest tenth. Now, there is a plus minus answer, but the negative time doesn't make sense, because it's a reading problem. So we will not be reporting the negative answer, just the positive there. Okay, one more for this section. Let's look at number 17. It's another reading problem. Kicking through these reading problems will be good to get through those. Number 17 says, if an amount of money called the principal P is deposited into an account that earns interest at a rate of R, compounded annually, then in 2 years that investment will grow to an amount A given by this formula. Now all of that talk was to tell you this is a formula that they use in business. P is principal, R is rate, A is what the money grows to. But they give you the formula in the problem. Then it tells you to put in some values. The principal amount for P is $5,500. It grows to 6415.2. So that's the A value, what it grows to. And in 2 years, what is the interest rate? Yeah, they had to leave something out for us to solve. So we're solving for rate. And they already put the 2 years is in the equation. That's where 2 years went if we want to know. So anyway, we need to solve this, and we can't solve it straightforward because we can't multiply 5,500 times an unknown. So we have to do a little algebra. So what I recommend you do first to solve this is divide by 5,500 to cancel that out. On each side, divide by 5,500. That leaves 1 plus r to the second equals, I'm really going to need my calculator now, so I'll get that in a minute. But it will equal whatever that division is. But let me proceed anyway, just know you can type that on your calculator. How do you solve it? What's the algebra step next? And that is to square root, because this is squared. If we square root and square, that cancels that out and brings down the 1 plus r. Then we'll have to square root this answer. So you'll be doing a big square root of that division problem. So we'll have square root of whatever that is, 6415.2. There. Then the only thing left to do to solve it, and it should be plus minus, I should note. When you square root an equation, you have to say plus minus. But once again, with money, we don't, well, I guess we can have negative money, but we're not going to account for the negative here, just the positive. Then you will throw the 1 across the line, minus 1, and you'll have it solved for r. So this is what we need to type into our calculator. And that will give us our rate as a decimal. But then to get it with the percent sign like the answer key has, you'll need to move your decimal to 2 places. So I'm just going to look at the answer key and tell you what you should have got there. It says it's answer D. So when you do this work, you're going to get 0.08 for your answer. And then you're going to say, to make the percent sign show back up, you'll move it back over 2 to the right for a final answer of 8%. And that'll be answer D. All right, we'll solve.